Have you ever wondered if your teen needs therapy? Maybe you're seeing them struggling or going through something and you can't tell if it's like a phase or kind of a normal teenager thing, or maybe if it's something they need professional help with. It can be difficult to answer that question, especially if as a parent you're thinking that, oh, I'm failing as a parent if I need to send my teen to therapy. I know that's how I felt before eventually sending my own daughter to therapy. But sending your teen to therapy does not mean you're failing as a parent. It just means that they're going through some stuff mentally that it's kind of hard for you to be the solution for, because every generation's childhood is completely different. And that's okay. Let's get into 5 signs that show your teen probably needs therapy. I came across this article the other day that shares some signs of when your teen may need therapy, and I thought it was really good, so I wanted to share it with you all, as well as give some of my kind of own teen perspective as going through some of these signs, because I think it's a lot easier to understand and recognize the signs if you've heard it or experienced it from the teen perspective. The first sign is that your teen is constantly seeking reassurance from you. Now, I know what reassurance means, but I still wanted to look it up, and I'm glad I did, because after reading the definition, it really just makes a whole lot of sense on how this is a sign that your teen may be really struggling with anxiety. Because reassurance is the action of removing someone's doubts or fears. So if your teen is constantly trying to get you to, soothe their doubts and fears, it's because 1, they're experiencing a lot of anxiety, and 2, and most importantly, they don't know how to handle it themselves. And you as a parent can't cope with their anxiety for them. They have to learn to do this themselves. Which is exactly why I get brought to so many schools to talk about anxiety to teens, so they can learn how to handle with this for not only now, but throughout their entire life. Because they need these skills once they graduate college and start living an adult lifestyle. Adult lifestyle. I did not mean for that to sound provocative. What I do mean is that they're living a normal adult life. They living on their own at this point. They have their own job. They're taking on the normal day-to-day stresses of being an adult, paying for your own food, bills, etc. So if you want to help them with this, it can be very helpful to get them to see a therapist so they can start to learn these skills and understand why they're experiencing this anxiety in certain situations. Another sign that they mention in the article is increased isolation. Now, isolation in general is not necessarily a bad thing. It becomes a bad thing once it becomes excessive. For example, the summer before I went into 7th grade, I went and stayed in my room for 12 plus hours a day playing video games. And I would even get extremely upset if I was interrupted, or if something came up where I had to come out of my room and go to a family event or something like that, cutting out my time with video games. Now, video games are just an example. I don't hate on video games by any means, but if you are to see an increased, isolation, whether it be video games or whatever, it's good to just keep an eye out, because it could mean that they are hurting inside, but they don't know how to express and feel those emotions, and that's where therapy could be extremely beneficial to them. To tag along with the sign of isolation is increased irritability. Like I said, I would get extremely irritated when that isolation was taken away from me. And it's because I wasn't dealing with my emotions that I had buried deep down. And since I didn't know how to deal with those, I would just explode on my parents sometimes. So if you see increased irritability from your teen, it doesn't mean that they hate you. It probably just means they don't know how to deal with the emotions that they're feeling, and so they unintentionally kind of throw that on you. and they might not even realize that it's because of emotions they don't know how to deal with. I love my parents, but I'll tell you, I was kind of a jerk to them as a teenager sometimes. The next one that I can relate to big time, and I think is a huge indicator that your teen probably needs therapy, is withdrawing from activities that they regularly enjoy. If you've heard my story, you know that I transferred schools at the beginning of my sophomore year of high school into this, very large public school. What you probably don't know is that I loved playing soccer, and I played soccer from the time I was about 5 all the way through my freshman year of high school. But during the summer before switching schools, I had a lot of fear of going to this new school. So much so that I decided to give up soccer because I didn't want to do, summer workouts and be on a team with people I didn't know. Soccer was my number one love as a teen, and because of social anxiety, I completely took it out of my life. This goes with what I tell teens all the time. If anxiety is dictating your life, it's a problem. One final sign that I want to share with you that I also experienced as a teen was bad habits in regards to hygiene and eating. Now for me, it was mostly just my eating habits became really poor. So much so that my first year at this new school, I went in a very skinny kid and weighing about 140 pounds. And I remember jumping on a scale, a few months after being in school for a while and realizing that I had lost about 20 pounds. I was now 120 pounds. And that was 20 pounds I had no business losing. Because with excessive anxiety, it can totally demolish your appetite. I barely ever ate. And it wasn't because I was protesting or anything like that. It was just because food never sounded good to me. If you see something like this, or any of the other signs that I have mentioned, it may mean that your son or daughter may need to go to therapy. So what if you do think your teen needs therapy now? What do you do next? As you can probably guess, it's probably not a good idea to go up to them and say, hey, I think you need therapy. Don't worry about it though. I made you an appointment for next Monday. That's not going to go over well. Do this instead. Find a time and place where you can talk to them alone without any distractions. Ask if you can be open with them about something that you've been noticing that's been slightly concerning to you. This has them give you permission to point out what you have noticed and start telling them what you've noticed. I've noticed that you've become a little bit more isolated, you stop playing soccer or doing whatever, etc. And then ask them if they agree. Have they noticed this about themselves as well? They may or may not agree, but this will at least give you a little gauge on how well their self-awareness is. Mention that you think it'd be a good idea for them to talk to someone professionally, like a therapist that's not you or your mom or dad or whatever. And I suggest doing this together. Find a therapist together. And I suggest this because you want to find someone that you think they'll be comfortable with, that they think is a good fit for them. And we want to have your input as well, parents, but I think it needs to be a team effort. I think they need to be involved in the selection process as well. Now, finding a good therapist for your teen can be challenging because not all therapists are the same. No one's a one-size-fits-all. Literally, therapists only deal with or work well with, certain types of patients. For example, some are specialized in teens and some aren't. Some are specialized in anxiety and some aren't. Here's a clip from a video I made a while back ago about how to find a therapist that fits your needs, or in this case, your teen's needs. So step 1 is to go to psychologytoday.com. Now from there, you can go to this tab, find a therapist. Just type in your zip code. It's going to show me just a list of therapists that are, around my area, so I can find. But like I said before, not all therapists are going to work for you. So what's really cool is you can, filter by insurance, make sure they take your insurance, if you want a male or a female, different types of therapy. But what I really want to show you all is the issues. So you can say, okay, I'm struggling with anxiety, for example. I want somebody that can specialize in anxiety. So I'm like, okay, this is Troy Fessel here. Let's take a look at him. And so if you come over here where you see specialties, he specializes in trauma and PTSD, anxiety, and depression. So this is what I know he's good at. This is what he focuses on. So this is what I'm going to focus on. I hope this has been helpful for not only you, but for your teen as well. Therapy can be extremely eye-opening for whoever's participating, as long as they have the right therapist. Now that you have the right tools to help your teen and find that therapist, you can start to see them flourish and, do what they love to do and see them happy. And I know as parents, that's all we can really ask for, is to see our child living happy, content lives. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like this video so we can reach more people. Also, if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. And if you are a parent or maybe someone in school staff watching this and you're like, man, it'd be really cool to see Kyle come talk to our students or our kids, reach out to me. Just go to socialanxietykyle.com and you can fill out a little contact form and we'll get on a call and see what we can do. See you all next week. Peace.